Good morning. Um, Welcome to our podcast. So I've got Sally Birch from our delivery team with me at the moment. So before we start with the podcast, let me just introduce myself. So my name is Carl Bothma. I'm responsible for delivery at 345. And today I'm really excited because we are going to talk about ERP integrations. So without further ado, Sal, would you like to introduce yourself as well quickly before we start?
Yeah, no problem. So I'm Sally Birch. My background is in test management and project management. And I work for 345 primarily as a test architect, but also working in delivery roles as well where it's needed. And I'm not sure I'm quite as excited as you. It's the end of the year. I don't know. But I'll try and get some enthusiasm.
I'm sure you will be excited by the end of this, Sal. Okay, excellent. So, like I mentioned, today we're going to talk about ERP integration, and I think, um, you know, uh, uh, we're going to talk about some of the challenges, some of the approaches around ERP integration, and Sal, maybe just get your view around your experience, on all the different exciting projects you've been working on, what your experience was with ERP integration. So, I think I don't have to introduce ERP integration to everyone who's going to listen to this podcast, but we all know it's all to do with supply chain, financial management, and manufacturing and all that kind of stuff. And it's got various benefits for organizations. Like it increases the productivity, and it controls the financial management and customer service and CRM and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to go into the details of ERP, what ERP is. We all kind of know what it is. So what I'd like us to focus on, Sal, is mainly around the integration part of ERP.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think, a good place to start is, the challenges that customers find with ERP integration. So, in your experience, what were the challenges that some of your customers um, had with ERP integration? Um, can you give us a little bit of an insight in your world, Sal, if you don't mind?
Mhm. Yeah, of course. So a lot of the things we're trying to achieve with ERP is around automating efficiencies and visibility. So streamlining processes, making it easier for the business to manage processes through less human interaction, less ability to influence the quality and therefore decrease the quality and that type of thing. And I think one of our biggest challenges from a delivery perspective is understanding the question that we're trying to answer. So it's very easy for someone to come up with the bright idea and say, oh, we can put ERP in there, but without thinking through the full landscape and the full architecture and having that big picture view of what's the question you're trying to answer, what's the problem you're trying to solve, and continually drawing your thought back to that. So defining what you think your requirements are, how you're going to tackle it, how you're going to deliver it, what type of data you'll be handling, what processes you'll be looking at, what areas of the business will you be integrating with, what other systems will you be integrating with. Um, there's a whole lot of thinking, and that comes at the architecture level around the direction of the intent that you're trying to achieve. And for me, it's always pulling your head back out the weeds and saying, but what am I trying to answer? What am I trying to resolve? What's the problem here? And so a lot of the times it's requirements, um, requirement changes, especially late stage requirement changes, which we all know are slightly more problematic, are harder to resolve. And whilst it may be, as we've had on a couple of projects, can we just do this? Which I've learned through the hard way is there's no such thing as a just job. You can
Yeah,
just make a change, but depending when that just job comes up, the ripple effect or the impact of that small minutiae of change could be
yeah,
quite fundamental if it comes quite late in stage in the delivery.
yeah,
So there's a lot of considerations, and I think that's where having thought through your plans and having architecture in place, not just from a design perspective, but also from a test perspective, because I am a test manager as well,
absolutely.
thinking these things through, designing the architecture, having a clear plan around this is what we're trying to tackle and this is how we intend to, and then making those discoveries along the way. We can still
Yeah,
flex and adapt to those 100%, but there is going to be an impact to late changes or late discoveries or unknowns or undecided factors.
Absolutely, and I think everyone needs to make sure that they're prepared for change, right? There's just 2 points I would like to go back on your answer. Very interesting answer, by the way. Thank you for that. So you were talking about requirements. In terms of requirements, what do you think is the most effective way of ensuring that you nail down those requirements? Is there anything that you guys that we do at 345
Mhm.
in order to overcome the challenge? Because I mean, change is inevitable. It's going to happen in any way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
And
so
change is just a problem to solve, isn't it?
yeah,
Something crops up and it's a difference to what we've already planned. It's just a small problem to solve. It may seem like a large problem. Everyone gets all upset. Egos are attached to the decisions, that type of thing. Is removing those from the situation. In terms of defining requirements,
mm,
for me, I find it's better to have sat down and done workshops with the clients, walked through them, physically walked through some of the situations or some of the journeys or the user stories,
yeah,
so that people can think about the application of their request. I just want this to work. Okay, but how? How do you
yeah,
want it to work? What's the impact of that? Think about that question a little bit more rather than I just want it to work. And from the outset, that's what they're trying to achieve.
yeah,
It's very simple, but delving into it starts to uncover the questions. And from a test perspective, it starts to uncover, well, how are we going to prove that? Have you thought about the level of data that we need to be able to do that?
yeah,
How are you going to interlock? How are you going to authenticate? What level of security needs to be in place? So working through structured workshops, I find generally works best. Engages people to have the communication, the conversation, keeping notes of everything. I'm, the guys on
which is
my,
very important. Yeah,
I scribble everything, but I also follow everything up with,
yeah,
the minutes and detailing all of the requirements through, and so that we've got things to call back on that can feed
yeah.
into the design. And it's communication, it's conversation, it's the
Well,
client's
absolutely.
problem that we're trying to help with.
Absolutely. It sounds to me like, listening to the answer that you've given, that you kind of partner up with the customer in order to, have user experience and have those targeted questions, because, customer might have some requirements, but they don't think everything through. And it sounds like, your targeted questions do help them through this whole thought process in order to get, to a steady set of requirements. Have you had any projects where you've nailed down your requirements, and throughout the whole process, you've started development, maybe, I don't know, you are quite deep into the process and your teams are embedded, and then all of a sudden, a requirements change happens? Have you had anything like that, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, it happens quite a lot because at the end of the day, the customer knows their business, but we know the technology. So we're
Mm,
trying to get the two sides of the coin together to understand a little bit more of each other. So there's going to be a point where partway through some of your delivery, the penny drops, or oh,
yeah,
we can't do it like that, or that's what you intended, and we might not have got ultimate clarity on everything. That's
yeah,
inevitable. Nobody knows all of the answers all of the time, especially at the start. What we tend to do is if a request comes up or a discovery comes up, that's when you start having those conversations. That's when you get people into a room, or virtually in most of our cases, and discuss. Okay, what's the risk? What's the impact? What's the problem we're trying to solve? How can we facilitate it now? If we facilitate it now, what's the consequence of that? So, if it's a large change, can we consume it now? And there's no outward ripple on the test development or the code development or
yeah,
the timeline. And you've got your age-old timeline triangle, haven't you, of people, money, and resources.
absolutely,
Those things kind of always still stand. So
yeah,
you kind of have to do that assessment. Okay, is this a risk we can carry through to a certain point, or
yeah,
a part of the delivery, so a phase one or whatever, and then we can implement it when actually it's less impactful to the delivery to implement post initial delivery, or is it something we need to kind of stand down for a couple of days, rework, spike it, do an impact assessment, and come back with a new plan.
yeah,
We've to take multiple approaches with various projects, so there's no kind of cookie cutter to say,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
when
no,
we do a
yeah,
change,
yeah,
we all stop. There's none of that. You have to sit and look at actually what is that change, um,
yes,
and understand why they want to make it or why we're suggesting it, because it could come from us as well.
yep, yep. Yep,
Um,
and it sounds like yeah. exactly what you're just saying there. You need to have a plan B, sometimes plan C, maybe plan D, and
Yeah.
so forth until you finish the alphabet, right? So, yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And to have a thought process around any changes that might happen, or just, any problems challenges you might find, having a plan for that is absolutely critical to any delivery. So, no, thanks for that, Sal. And moving on um, from requirements. So, we all know that ERP integrations can be really difficult and quite expensive as well. Because customers will have to integrate with different systems and different platforms. Sometimes, old legacy systems,
Yeah.
and all of these kind of systems need to talk to each other. Now, I think in your first when we started talking about ERP integration, you mentioned requirements, and then you mentioned data as well. And when you think about all these systems integrating together, all the legacy, what is the best approach for integrating the data?
So I'm not a data scientist, but I will definitely hold data up as God. That is the currency with which we trade upon. So that's what
Yep.
we're trading across platforms.
Yep.
I think when we come to looking at data strategies, it's definitely something we want to be looking at doing a POC or a spike on initially.
Yep.
So it's something that we want to be drawing at. What is the data you're trying to transmit? Have we thought through what the mapping is likely to look like? What's the translation tool that needs to happen? A lot of these ERP legacy tools talk to each other with similar data, but a lot of data is in different field classifications or different mappings. And have we got mapping tables? Do we fully understand that? And sometimes sitting down with the business and saying, okay, this is painful, but you've got this on one side and you've got this on the other side, and they need to match. So let's work through them field by field or class by class, and understand that. So I would initially want that done quite at an early stage.
Absolutely.
Do a proof of concept with a simple set of data and prove capability. But then spend time, invest in that, make sure that it's rigorous and it's thought through, and that we understand how we're going to transmit data across platforms via our ERPs and across our integrations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think absolute key to data integration is your APIs, right? Your APIs is the center point of your data integration. So, in terms of data integration using APIs, it's always the way I think of it is it's a certain point which translates all the data into one single form of data, which the modern systems can understand. So in terms of APIs, what do we do at 345 in order to test APIs? Do we have any test strategy? You mentioned that you've got a you are a test architect as well. So I'd like to focus a little bit on API testing and how the APIs fit into the whole ERP integration.
Yeah. So clearly, we are trying to be DevOps, trying to be agile, trying to follow all of the methodologies that are available, or at least find the best bits of those methodologies that are available. So shifting left for us is a key goal. We've spent time building out mocks, so replicating APIs so that we can actually test the contract between various APIs. So we can set up frameworks that allow us to draw out a lot of the potential bugs or pitfalls at a lot earlier stage. And as we all know, you find it earlier, it's quicker, faster, and cheaper to resolve it. So we're finding bugs at stages where they're not actually a bug, because we may have found them through static testing and by doing analysis of the contracts between APIs, and then subsequently gone on and fixed them, but then found different errors whilst testing them against stubs or mocks. So putting in a framework that allows us to be able to simulate variances and variables, exception scenarios, all of those things between contracts is essential for us. So I would like to see, the bulk of the testing done at an earlier stage on mocked and stubbed environments that we're able to manipulate and control and simulate the scenarios where you've got incorrect data, large data fields, exception scenarios, retry policies, all of those things as far left as possible. So
yeah, absolutely.
Stages, so
absolutely.
And then when we can go on to test real endpoints, we actually know that all of the dirty stuff and the harder stuff that's harder to replicate on a real endpoint already
Absolutely.
works.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get that true clean path through that we can then have the confidence and the clarity to say, actually, we've covered the biggest part of the risk on the left-hand side, and now we can preview that lovely happy path all the way. Always tiny, and everyone skips through.
Well, I think, well, I absolutely love your answer, because, there's three key things that stands out for me is, it seems like, the whole thinking of, testing this whole ERP integration is capturing everything as early as possible, it's your requirements, understanding your data, having a test set already in place in order to test your APIs, at a much earlier stage. That is absolutely fantastic. And I think, when it comes to test automation, it's really important to consider your regression testing as well, because you don't want to go and test, have manual testers like many organizations do, which repeat all the testing manually every single time. So having this automation pack is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
I think
automation is fantastic for proving the things that you should know, should work. So once you've gone through and tested them, you build your automation pack so that you can run it through every time and go, I know what my expected answer should be. You need to be careful with automation that you're not building yourself a monster, because people can get down in the weeds and start creating automation tests that are far too in-depth and too laboursome to actually then update. But it does give us a massive leg up in being able to rerun and regression so quickly, rather than do, right, hold fort everyone, we need all the manual testers come in and complete 200 tests. That's a couple of hours, if that, now.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. And I think, what you mentioned earlier around the cookie cutter, you said that, there's not one specific, approach to ERP integration that works for everyone. However, from what I can hear is your approach to ERP integration can be like almost like a cookie cutter, capturing requirements early. So there are some things you can do which kind of fits a cookie cutter model, which means that you can implement these processes at an early stage, and that can help overcome all these challenges. For example, your data challenges or your requirements and all that kind of stuff. And I think you're absolutely right. Testing is absolutely key to this. So,
to the end.
hey,
I'm a tester to the end, always will be.
Exactly. So I guess when it comes to ERP integration approaches, there's no specific approach that we want to recommend to customers, like you've already mentioned.
I wouldn't want to walk into a company and go, and this is how we do it, without giving them any regard for actually your nuances are different, your business is different, your processes are different.
Yeah.
It's like you can walk in with your framework, so your skeleton, and then you add the muscles and the flesh and the tendons and everything else, because those are tailored to the customer.
Yeah.
Those are tailored to how they deliver and the processes that they have, and also the delivery mechanism that they want. They may have different risks, so they want things delivered in a different order. So I did think it would be really unfair to go in and go, right, here's this box and this fit this box, you fit in this box. It's kind of a little bit arrogant to say you will go in there without going, actually, what box needs to be this big, this big, this big. And
so it sounds like
it
sounds like you're creating a bigger box, and everything fits into this bigger box.
Everyone in the box. That's how you get to know, what matters to them.
Yes.
Rather than walking in and going, here you go, and here's your IKEA off-the-shelf, integration box. Just put it together and it will work fine, without actually spending time to understand and lead them through it.
Yes,
I love
absolutely.
IKEA. I don't know.
No, well, yeah, that is really interesting, Stel. I think what you said is absolutely things that everyone needs to consider when they think about ERP integration. So I think it sounds to me like ERP integration doesn't have to be a nightmare. It's focusing on everything at an early stage, specifically testing as well, which is quite interesting. I mean, we weren't going to talk about testing in this podcast, but testing absolutely fits into this whole model of shift left, which you mentioned earlier. Sel, thank you very much. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add around ERP integration or anything that I might have missed.
I just think it's one of those things that can seem like a big monster from the outset, can be worrying to tackle. you've got this big idea or you've got this big problem, and from the outset it's, I don't know how to do it, because you don't know what you don't know. So that's where we are able to step in and go, actually, we know this technology and we can help guide you through that by understanding what you want and how you want to do it, and we can help you get through that journey together, rather than leave you out there in the wilderness on your own fighting your ERP battles with a very small pocket knife. We can come in with a big blade and help get through it.
Yes, and you can do all of that without compromising on quality, right?
Oh my God, quality. Yeah. I mean, I will always sit here with the little test flag going quality, 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 and there may be occasions where, as a tester, or as from my background, that I will go, this needs to stop. However,
Yes.
my job is to inform people of the risks, not to necessarily take those risks. So, we may find things that impact quality along the way, but actually the customer can then decide whether that risk is palpable to them, it's bearable. It's the impact may be quite as big as we foresee, or as I foresee as a tester who goes, it failed. But again, it's all part of that communication and doing that integrated delivery with the customer, rather than just for them or on behalf of them, or forcing it upon them.
Absolutely, and I fully agree with you. And I think it's really important points that you highlighted today. And if everyone just follows the basic pattern, like I said, it shouldn't be a nightmare. I like your idea about the big box. we throw everything in the box. There's your box, ERP delivered. By the sounds of it.
It's so easy.
So, Selda, thank you very much for your time today. As always, I will close off a podcast with a really geeky joke. Are you ready for my joke today?
Oh, I'm bracing myself. Go on, go for it.
And you have to laugh, okay?
No,
So 3 relational databases walk into a NoSQL bar. They left after 5 minutes. Do you know why?
Go on, hit me with it.
They couldn't find a table. and on that note,
Sal, out of my misery.
So on that note, Sal, thank you very much for your time. It was lovely to talk to you today. I think this was most helpful, and I will see you later. And thanks everyone for joining the podcast.
No problem. No more jokes today, please. I can't cope.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.